2024, and it will be time for South Africans to vote in a new government. It will be time for South Africans to choose who we want to lead us. And as we can see, the state of politics, not just in South Africa, but across the world, it's in a sorry state. Politicians are now, many of them are going back to identity politics. They are sowing seeds of division, of hatred in some cases, but few leaders have stepped up to the plate to inspire, to motivate, to build, to come with solutions. In South Africa, and this is the question why I want to ask, are you going to vote next year? And who are you going to vote for? In South Africa right now, according to the latest figures of the Independent Electoral Committee, the IEC, South Africa has 26.7 million, almost 27 million registered voters. But almost 35 million South Africans are eligible to vote in an election. But of those 35 million, only 27 million have registered to vote. If you haven't registered, you can't vote. South Africa has, according to the last census, the latest figures, it shows that we have 62 million people are living in South Africa, but it's disputable. Some say 62 million, others say 64 million. But roughly half of those people, of South Africans, they can vote. But the question is, what is available to us? So far, I am still waiting for the politician who will say Africa, South Africa first. Who will say, do this for your country. Let's rebuild this beautiful country of ours. Let's talk about stability. Let's talk employment. Let's talk development. Let's talk trade, health, education, fight against crime. Let's talk about these things. But here's the kicker. Without mentioning the ANC. Like I've said before, and I'll say it again. We know about the ANC. We can all read. We can listen. But as a political opposition party, you don't have to remind us of the failings of the ANC. And the reality is, there are people in this country who will never vote for any other party except the ANC. And this is what I figured I've picked up when it comes to the DA supporters. When they hear that someone is going to vote or they support the ANC, that person is being portrayed as an imbecile, an idiot, a stupid, a blind person, or a poor person, or a desperate person, or basically, the DA portrays in many instances that people who still vote and support the ANC are being portrayed by the DA as idiots. Maybe, here's a suggestion to the DA. Instead of attacking an ANC supporter, try to find out why are they still voting for a party that is corrupt in many instances, for a party where there's no accountability or there's a lack of accountability for certain people when corruption has been, when they are corrupt. Why do people still vote for a party who has failed us for the last almost 30 years? Because 2024, it will be exactly 30 years since the last election. Instead, of trying to make fools and being critical of people who still vote for ANC. Try and find out why. What appeals to the majority of people? Because this is an interesting stat. In previous elections, the DA did not win in some provinces because their numbers grew. They won because ANC supporters stayed away from the polls. And this is to the ANC now. Why is it that you still have to bring dead people to the party when you want to gain votes? Why do you still have to go and talk about people who have died, and you still expect to inspire people to go and make a cross next to the ANC? Because when you keep on referring to dead people, it shows the current vote, it shows your voters right now that you lack growth. You lack the ability to move with time because you still call people comrade. You still talk about socialism and Marxism, but you benefit from capitalism. You still have people, politicians, who still say we are fighting for Russia. We are fighting for China. Instead, people talking about revolution. People talk about radical economic transformation. Yes, we need it. But let's talk about transformation in terms of economics, in terms of education, in terms of technology, in terms of overall development. Because every year you come and you say, we are going to give you jobs. Now, we need development. There are enough people in South Africa, but we need to bring the right people into the right jobs with the right skills. We have a skills shortage in certain sectors, but even there the numbers can be skewed. It is skewed because the ANC, who is not the government, mind you, it is just the majority party. The ANC lacked the ability to lead. They lack the ability to build. They lack the ability to bring growth and prosperity to South Africa. We have all established that. And you cannot campaign as a political party and say, we will end load shedding. And load shedding it's not unique just to South Africa. It's a worldwide problem, but just energy is a problem across the world, but it's just under different names, and countries are looking at different ways to deal with it. But in South Africa, because of corruption, cadre deployment, greed, and lack of capacity and lack of skills, we are now sitting with load shedding. When we vote, don't believe promises of a party who says we will end load shedding. We will bring food prices down. We will create employment. We need to ask the right questions as voters. What does your manifesto say? Because when the manifesto is being launched, people go to party. They go to pitches and wherever, and they go and get free food. Listen, South Africans. No? When you go there to whatever venue it is, where they're going to give you free food, they're going to give you food parcels, they're going to give you free t-shirts. Ask yourself, when that food is finished and that t-shirt is worn out and torn, what has changed for you? We must begin to think beyond of what is just good for me, but what is good for my community, what is good for my country. And in terms of whoever you are going to vote for, ask the question, what are you going to do to bring about change in municipalities? What are you going to do in terms of a coalition? Because now people are talking about, they called it the Moonshine Pact. I don't know what it's called now, or multi-party charter. It's not the solution. Politics is not the solution to our problems. We need to come up with a different solution. Sorry. We need to come up with a different solution. We need to ask in communities, how are we going to work together to build our communities so that we can take power away from politicians? We need to ask ourselves, how do we get into that position as communities, as provinces, where instead of the politicians making the decisions, we must instruct them, and they cannot move without our say so. So I will end off and ask, is it worth it? And what do you hold whoever the candidate is or the party, what are you holding them accountable for?